What is up? The sixth man, we back. It's been a week. Damn, it's been a quick week. It's flown by. How are my GMs doing? Let's call them out. We've got House Lasky.
Hi.
Modest as always. Right, way to bring the energy. We've got House of 03.
House of 03. I'm doing good, man.
We have got the Pero Antich Express.
Son, how's it going?
Express. We've got Mr. Smart over there, Lancashire Land Beer with the analytics glasses going and writing down some key stats.
We're taking a different focus this week, boys.
The door is shut. There's nobody coming in, not those losses. And let's head over to Salt Beret. Here's the last GM. How you feeling, man?
Good. Slow week for me, but I'm repping colours today, so I'm sure I'll get some shit for that later.
A lot of home teams on this pod as we are tackling the Southeast and the Northwest divisions. We are heading to the Southeast and we're heading to a place where coronavirus isn't affected because people are still going out. We're heading to the ATL, the home place of the Migos. Jay Wild, Atlanta Hawks, 3-1 this week, and you're over 500. How you feeling, baby boy?
Very, very happy indeed. So we 8-9 now, which is awesome. We had a few
9-8.
9-8, excuse me. I always get that the wrong way around. I'm used to us having a losing record, excuse me.
It's all changed now. It's all changed.
Absolutely. We had some injury scares. Clint and Trey, who are really the highlight of everything that we've been doing in terms of their numbers. Clint having his first triple-double. Trey getting his groove back. And I say getting his groove back because after that controversy with John Collins, which I'm sure we'll dip into in a second, he went a little bit quiet there and was trying to figure out how to get people more involved and maybe feel less ball hoggy, as maybe John Collins might have put it at some point. But they were both back playing last night against the Bucks. So, yeah, glad to have them back, man.
Well, you did play the Bucks earlier in the week, but you actually played the Clippers last night, and you got a big win.
Yeah.
Even though no Kawhi and PG, but to be honest, I think it's a tough league, and again, whoever you go up against, I think any win is good. Trey Young really hitting his stride. I mean, apart from the turnovers, but he's scoring in big bunches, Wildy.
Absolutely, yeah. The turnovers thing is a product of him, being young, and when you have that much responsibility over the ball, turnovers are going to be, a bit of an issue. He's averaging 4.3 at the moment, which that's really high. But he is also fifth in assists. So,
it sounds like that. It sounds like that stat took you by surprise, Wildy. You looked at the stat sheet, you were like, whoa.
Yeah, I was up late last night, sort of doing some of the stats, and so I was. My reactions are fresh, but the research is a day old. I was just maybe it took me a little bit by surprise. I hadn't really quite clocked how bad that is. But yeah, fifth in the league in assists, winning record, which is all good. But yeah, I mean, one of the main things for us is I talked at the beginning, it was about our defense needing to get better. We are third in defensive efficiency, which is amazing considering the past 4 seasons we were bottom 3, a combination of 28th, 29th, 30th over the past 4 years. So, I mean, Clint Capella being the main reason for that. He got 10 blocks the other game, and that's 10 blocks recorded. The amount of shots he would have altered just from his presence when you're blocking 10 shots, it would have been way bigger than that 10, which is just fantastic. So I'm loving the defense he's bringing. I think that if there was ever a player that we had traded for because we wanted them to do X, he has delivered the most of anybody. We got him because we were crap on defense and we didn't get any shots, and we needed that big man in the middle that could rim run, and catch lobs from Trey. He has done all of that and more. So I couldn't be happier about it.
It seems like Capella has blocked you off the screen as well.
Yeah, hell yeah. He came in and blocked my lighting out.
Yeah.
That's how good he is. All the way from ATL into Staines Massive.
Waddy, I want to speak on the Timberwolves game. I know
Yes.
that
Which one? The
Timberwolves-
second or the first one?
The one 3 games ago, so you just beat them 116-98.
Yeah,
I actually put it on
the big Capella Trey game. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to ask you, because I put it on the Instagram, you know, what's more impressive? The fact that Trey has 40 in 3 quarters and he's hit as many threes, which was 8, as the whole of the Timberwolves, or Capella out blocking the entire team 10-8. What's more impressive?
I think Clint Capella, I think that is a lot more impressive because without him, our team is not good defensively. So he's the infinity stone of defense on the Atlanta Hawks roster that we need to have in order to keep our effect. Yeah, exactly. He's clicking. Poofing them shots away, man. So yeah, that's why that's a lot more impressive. And as I mentioned earlier, he got his first triple-double in that game of his career. So I love the fact that he's got that with us. Yeah, he's our best defensive big man since Dikembe Mutombo, which is always a nice little note to have. Love that. Al Horford was very good, but
I was just going to say, no love for Al Horford.
Yeah.
no, hey, how dare you? I love Al Horford.
I love him too. I love the guy.
No, you shut up. No, you don't. How dare you? Alex Al Horford hater, man. Just Alex hates him because he's keen. How is that a reason?
Nobody's more keen than Karl Anthony Towns, ain't that right, bro? He's not getting involved. He's not getting involved.
Something in the water, clearly.
I'm confused. What is all this keen talk about?
Karl Anthony Towns is by far one of the most keen players on the court. He is so engaged. It's a good thing, but it's like, all right, man, you need to chill out. And Horford's like that. But yeah, anyway, go on, Marty.
What I will say with Trey is that one thing that was really good. I didn't see the game live, but I always follow up and watch it. When I saw that he had got 8 for 12 from 3, I was expecting some crazy NBA street, like just going from anywhere threes. But the reality of it, which I was more happy about, was the fact that he was getting a lot of catch and shoot threes. He was relocating in like loose ball situations so that when we got the possession, he was there ready and guys were looking for him. And a few times John found him, which is awesome because you want to see those guys clicking on the floor.
Well, 3 in 1 week for you guys. Big shout outs first off to Trey for that shrug three. It was disgusting. And then also he shouts out Kobe 24 after hitting that deep 3 in the clutch last night. And also Red Velvet getting the start and DeAndre Hunter playing some good minutes for you guys. So I'm happy to see there's a bit of consistency in the starting lineup. And that's good for the ATL.
I'm assuming Red Velvet is Herta.
Yes,
correct.
Okay.
Only one Red Velvet, baby.
So now we head to the capital, where a famous Bernie Sanders meme has been popping off. Okay, but there's also something else that's been popping off, and that is how unhappy Bradley Beal is with the Washington Wizards. Let's head over to Lancashire Lambert. What is happening in Washington?
Oh, well, to be fair, these 2 games that they've played over the past couple of nights have been the first that they've played in about 2 weeks. And it's quite ironic that we are talking about Washington, and this is a team that hasn't won since the new president's come in. So there was literally a different president the last time Washington last won a game of basketball. That's how bad it is. And I really do feel for Bradley Beal. The man is averaging 40 points over his last 5 games, and the Wizards have lost 4 of them. I feel for the guy. He's the first player since Michael Jordan in 1989 to score over 25 points in his first 12 games of the season. And he's in a team that has the worst record in the league. What more can the man do?
That's disgusting.
That is some nice stats from the glasses. The glasses are working. So you lose to the Spurs, and then the Rockets. That is a tough game because
Yeah.
That was a John Wall revenge game. Like he said prior to the game, like I'm gonna make sure that like I perform, and he did perform. He showed up in a big way. What did you see from the Rockets game last night?
I think that just sums up the season really for the Rockets, because obviously that John Wall, Russell Westbrook trade, like again, Bradley Beal just absolutely went off in that game, didn't he? And it still wasn't enough. There was a shot at the end where I think it's passed back to the 3-point line, and I don't know which Wizards player takes the shot, but it's a complete air ball, and Beal's just there with his head in his hands. And yeah, like Russell Westbrook, they brought him in to obviously be that impact with Bradley Beal, and yes, he is nearly averaging a triple-double, but in the games he's played this season for the Wizards, he's played 9 games and he's won 1. The 2 other games that they've won, he wasn't even playing in. He was inactive. And the stats point to that as well. He's shooting at 37% from the field, which is the worst in his career. And he's 61% from the free throw line. It's embarrassing. Wow. And then you look at John Wall last night, it seems to me that the Rockets have definitely done better out of that trade deal.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. With the Beal field goal, the guy doesn't have any help on that team. You look across starting lineup: Bonga 0 points in 26 minutes. Lopez only 10 points, 3 rebounds in 30 minutes. Last night they only had 24 bench points compared to the Rockets, who had 41. They shot 39% from the floor, 20 turnovers, only had 36 points in the second half. It's all negative. Let's be positive. If Bill stays in Washington, which I highly doubt it, I think there is a trade imminent, and I think we should talk about it, of who you guys think he will go to. He's leading the league in scoring. He's averaging 34.5 when I last checked. Can he win his first scoring title?
No reason why he can't. He's, like you said, he's leading the points per game, and the second place in that is KD, and he's 4 points behind. So he's on fire. He's definitely going to be an all-star this year. And obviously there's rumours where he's going to go to. Could be the Heat, who knows? But yeah, it's...
Where would all the GMs speak on any term? Where would you like to see Bradley Beal?
So I'm going to do something controversial here, because I've heard the Bulls thrown out as a potential destination. And if I'm Beal, that's a terrible idea, because you're just looking at Washington 2.0. It's the same thing, literally the same thing, no help. Where he should go is to the beach. Take your talents to the beach, son. I reckon there's I don't even know what you could trade. You might have to get rid of Hero Iguodala for salary. Throw some young players and picks and pair up the big three of Butler, Bam, and Beal. That would be just insane.
You know, that just made that so much worse, because you said about how bad the Bulls were, and then you just shouted out Miami.
Take your talents to the beach, son.
We say
right state, wrong team. Come to Orlando, bro. We need some offensive help. Vooch needs some help over here. We can give you Mo Bamba. We can give you some draft picks. We can give you Evan Fournier's expiring contract. We can give you...
You can give them a whole hospital full of injuries.
Yeah, lying. In all seriousness, Miami have got assets. Let's be real here. They've got assets to give up, and that's what Washington want. Another team.
How many of those assets will they give up? Because they want to keep Bam. I don't see them trading Bam.
Right.
If Hero is potentially the only piece that I reckon that they will trade, who else will go?
Duncan Robertson.
You could put Nunn in there as well, but they're pretty heavy on the point guard end. You probably put in... I mean,
None feels like,
but you might put in Robinson at a stretch, because his position's getting taken by Beal anyway. So does it make too much sense to keep him?
I guess what do Washington need?
They need anything and everything.
Yeah.
Go on, George.
I suppose how do we feel about Tyler Hero being the next potential Bradley Beal, just having his own team and going mental? I mean, I know Westbrook's there, but we just covered what he does. So Tyler Hero just going mad in Washington.
There's only one solution. Philly have got to trade Bradley Beal for Ben Simmons. It's the only trade that makes sense because Ben Simmons potentially has the most upside, and we spoke about how he would fit with a team with shooters. The only downside is that he's not performing well in terms of scoring, so he might have lost a little bit of value. If I'm Daryl Morey, I'm taking that trade. 100%.
Oh yeah, if you're Daryl, you're taking it. But the Wizards wouldn't do that, I don't think. Like Simmons only gets his points from tip-ins and fast break layups. That's like it. Literally, doesn't shoot the ball in the half court. I don't think he fits with that Washington team. They haven't got enough shooting. They've shown that already. Like they don't have the offensive firepower and they cannot defend at all.
And I don't think Ben Simmons is a point guard either. He'll probably fit into a forward position, and Wizards have got like 5 or 6 forwards there already. You've got Roy, you've got Denny, you've got Bertans, you've got quite a few. Of course, Ben Simmons is better than all of them, but their roster is still stacked over there unless they decide to move those pieces as well. But yeah, I guess if you're looking at player, probably Simmons is the best player that anyone else would provide. But unless it's a Chicago, but then that doesn't solve anything, swapping Bill for Levine.
And you get picks as well, which is the main thing. And there's a lot of teams out there who can't trade picks at the moment. There's literally like a third of the league can't trade their picks because they've already traded them, and you can't trade picks in consecutive years, which hamstrings a lot of people. So the only other one, I don't know, Jordan, if you were going to throw this out there as well, is Denver.
No, for me, like you said, I like when we first got the question, like the first team which ran into my head was like you, Bray, was definitely Miami. Like for me, I think that would be really good fit, especially like with Jimmy Butler there and everything like that. It's a tough situation, which is in like I feel like the brother's done his time. Like he definitely, I feel like he's at a point where he does need to look to get out of that. Like he's in a very tough situation now. Like coming in during the draft, you saw that, and when he was playing like his first year, you always saw like that comparison towards him and Lillard as well, like them being very similar players. So I feel like he definitely drew the short straw and ended up in an unfortunate situation with like, and now it's just getting worse. So I think, Nuggets as well. I think that would be a good option. But what would you say they would move for him? What do you think they'll be willing to give up?
I think it would have to be Michael Porter Jr. plus salary filler, plus if they have any picks they can trade at all. Like Gary Harris, maybe a salary filler, Monte Morris, like guys in the same position that he would replace and would obviously be giving better production.
Let's give a kudos to Bill because a lot of players have forced their way out of teams. James Harden. And he's stuck put. I think George said it best. He's done his time. Would like to see him thriving in a more successful team. Let's head back to House of O3. Buzz City, the Charlotte Hornets. George, how are they doing?
A mixed bag for me at this point from what I'm looking at. Like this week they've gone 1-2. Last 10 games. They've gone 5-5, so they do have that even split. Their total overall record is 7-10. So from the last time we spoke about them, that was like a beginning of a crazy run, which they did, and they did well. But as soon as that was over, they plummeted. And I think like it's gotten to the point in the stage of the season for them and the managers of planning everything where we've passed like that honeymoon stage of like glimpsing of seeing what you can do, and that's entertaining, that's great. But now they're definitely looking on performing and stuff like that. And I think like Hayward for them has been brilliant. Like he's showing up like game after game. And like I said before, like I think he's shutting up the haters from about his contract from right at the beginning of the season. So that's always great to see. From the manager, like he's been saying at this point, he's been asked questions like, are you looking to change up the roster and the matchups and stuff like that? But it seems like he's taken the approach of looking at the players and improving them individually first and seeing where they're going before he actually starts to change his game plan. My only concern with that is like when's the time to like pull the trigger on that and start looking more into what changes can be done at the moment. But yeah, at the moment it's shaky. It's not good, but it's not bad. So like it's a mix. They just need to get that consistency really.
Yeah, and it's the effect of LeVar Ball again.
Yeah,
he comes out in the media and he says LaMelo should be starting, and it's obviously linked to LaMelo, so we don't even know if he's saying it. And it's the coach, like, fair play to him. He was just like, he has 5 turnovers. He's got to do better. Like, you can't just expect you to be jumped in. Like, we're not even 20 games into the season. The biggest thing for me, Jord, their starting lineup, like last night, PJ Washington, 2 points in 23 minutes. Yeah. And Biyombo, he doesn't do enough for me. For me, I would want to put Cody Zeller, who's back now, put him in the starting lineup. He gives you way more than Biyombo, who's literally, all he is a rim runner, can play defense relatively well. Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah, that's just like I mentioned before, like Hayward's like turning up, and then all the other players seem to have like these separate issues which they need to kind of like iron out and build them back up. Like, they have shown that they can perform and the chemistry is there, but it just needs to be that collective team effort to like kind of improve and put on that effort, instead of being in that situation where you're relying on that one player throughout the season to kind of like pull you out of the deep end, I
also like to see Charlotte make a move moving one of their guards. I think they've got an overload of guards that once they find out that structure, Rozier, Graham could help a contender potentially, maybe deeper down the road, like not like a number 1, number 2, number 3 guy, but they're solid players, and I think that they could get some value for that. Again, it's just consistency with this team, isn't it?
Yeah. That Rozier contract's also a killer. It's a massive contract.
I'm not too sure who's going to be picking that up. Yeah, and let's also talk about Gordon Hayward. Played against the Bulls, 34, 6-4. The Magic, where he hit the game winner, left-handed layup. We'll get to that in a minute, Ed. 39.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we are. 39 points and 9 rebounds. And then the final game where Magic overturned that loss, 24, 5-4. He is earning that money.
Yeah, definitely. And it's showing up.
So the Charlotte Hornets played this next team twice. And to be honest, the Orlando Magic have probably had the most interesting week out of any team in the NBA, because they have had 3 games that have gone down to the wire. So they've been really good for the neutral. How has it been for you, Ed? 2-2 this week, 8-10 overall. How are you feeling about your team?
Bit of a sticky one still. Right. So the major overall elephant in the room is, since Markelle Fultz has been out, and actually since the last time we spoke, because I believe he got injured the night after we did the last recording for this division, we were 6-4. I think 6-4, 6-2, whatever, plus or minus 2 losses. Since then, last 10 games, they're 2-8. And it has been a stark drop-off in their offense. And we can see it by some of the awful losses they had. They got smacked up by the Harden-less Rockets in that run. They got smacked up by, who else did they get smacked up by? Quite a few different teams. I remember watching a couple thinking, this is not fun to watch. This is really hard to watch. There's no offense going on. Vooch is carrying the team offensively by himself. It's just a really hard watch. They are 27th in free throw rate. So they're not getting to the bucket at all. And I remember at the start, one of my stats that I made last time we spoke at Magic was they had the highest free throw percentage. That's dropped off a lot as well. And they're 26th in offensive rating. So they just can't put the ball in the bucket, which is, they're 2-8 since Fultz's injury, last 10 since we last spoke. That's the overall highlight. That's the elephant in the room.
Let's just have a shout out, because in the Hornets game, it was the first time in NBA history that 2 female officials worked in the same game. So Natalie Sago and Jenna Schroeder. So big kudos to that. That was a good comeback win for you guys. But let's talk about these close wins. So we've got the Timberwolves game, which was nuts because Cole Anthony, Timberwolves missed 2 free throws. Cole Anthony goes down the other end. He hits a fading 3 at the buzzer. Like, to be honest, that's a shot that you dream of, like shooting in your back garden. Like, the shot clock's running down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you play the Pacers. Back and forth game. You know, Sabonis ties the game, send it into OT, and then Gordon turns it over in at the end of regulation. But Brogdon hits a huge 3 with 2.8 seconds to basically win the game. So you end up losing that. And then the Hornets one, I talk about Gordon Hayward hitting the left-hand layup at the end of the game to win the game. So it's not a nice thing to talk about, but comparing Brogdon's 3 versus Hayward's layup, which game are you more upset about losing?
1,000% the Gordon layup, because Magic were up by 20 in that game. Which is, something you did mention. Magic were up by 20 in that game and let it slip. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know this, and I think apart from Alex, because we spoke about this previously, do you know who the Magic's backup point guard is?
He's not in the league anymore, is he? Or is
No. He's a very well-known name. Very, very well-known name. He's a backup point guard.
We definitely talked about this yesterday. Yeah.
Who's your backup point guard?
I'll give you a clue. He's a starter. Aaron Gordon is our backup point guard. That is not a joke. He is taking backup point guard minutes. So the rest of our guards are injured. Cole Anthony is our starter. When our bench unit comes on, Gordon comes on with them, and he is the primary ball handler. He is the ipso facto point guard of the team. So it's Aaron Gordon, Terrence Ross, maybe a James Ennis or a Dwayne Bacon, Ken Birch, and Gary Clark. That's our bench unit. Mm-hmm. He's been handling the ball a lot recently. I think past couple of games, gets around 7 or 8 assists a game. He's our backup point guard. So that just shows the extent of our injury concerns. I just want to point that out there and say part of the growing pains and losses has been having to play. Like, he does have some nice plays and can do at times, but it's hard to have Gordon as your playmaker when it gets to that stage of the game. He's done it quite a few times. I know Ultra likes it, so we had a chat with Ultra yesterday about the Magic. He likes seeing Gordon at point guard. I'm not necessarily convinced yet. He's definitely not polished at all. Gets some really bad turnovers, can sometimes be very rash, but that's our current situation.
Yeah, I mean, it might surprise you guys, but in the Timberwolves game, Gordon 13, 9, and 7. So across the board, sort of like a Ben Simmons line. And then last night he's got 12, 11, and 7. Just want to see him be a bit more aggressive, because, to be honest, the team needs it. Magic need a scorer, and this is what you guys have struggled with so much.
Last couple of things. So on that Gordon point, that's a very good point, because what Fultz does really well is he does drive to the rim really well and makes great decisions at the rim, whether it's lay it off to dump it off to Vooch a little bit or kick it out to the corner. He makes very great decisions and forces the defense to make him go to the free throw line, or causes some sort of offensive productivity in one way or another. And Gordon should hopefully be able to do that as well, getting to the rim and causing defenders to think. And something I've also mentioned to Alex as well is, when I do watch the Magic, I think they don't take bad shots. Whenever they take threes, unless it's Terrence Ross, which that's his thing, most of the threes that they take are open. And I was looking at, I need some stats to back it up. And I finally figured out how to use the NBA advanced stats table that they got. Some really nice little, you can really deep dive into there. So Magic are bottom 6 in 3-point percentage for open and wide open threes. They're the only team that are bottom 6 for both. So open threes is between 4 and 6 feet, and wide open is 6 feet or plus. They're the only team bottom 6 percentage for both. So they are not making their open shots, which is a real killer. I just needed some stats to back up my thinking and watching the game, saying they can't make open shots. So, as you were saying about Ken Birch, the reason why Alex brought up Ken Birch also is he plays in our second unit, and Vooch sometimes plays the second unit as well. We have sort of a semi-twin towers with Vooch and Ken Birch playing together quite often. And I actually kind of like it. Ken Birch is really nice at getting some offensive rebounds. He's your ideal center coming off the bench. And last thing I want to do is I just want to give a shout out to Vooch before, because I can just go on about Magic all day, as you can imagine. Last thing, I'll give some shout out to Vooch. He is currently, right, above the break free. So you know how there's a little curve on the 3-point line? Vooch has made the most threes above the break of anyone in the NBA, and he's third in percentage. Only Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have got a better percentage from the area than Vooch. So just want to say that. And he's shooting 43% from three. And for a center, boy, that is
Wow.
Also, actually no, that's enough. I'll leave that about Vooch. I'll give you all my Vooch stats another time, but I'll leave it on a positive.
He's got to make the All-Star team, guy, and also one of the best trades you've ever made in history, because you trolled us for it, because you stole Vooch off of us, and we were like, yeah, let's get rid of him. We want Andrew Bynum, and look how that turned out. Jeez.
Yeah, but Howard went the other way as well, so it's a bit of a sticky one.
Trust me, you came up better than we did. South
Andrew
Beach
Bynum had more bad haircuts for you guys than points.
Oh Jesus, the bowling accident. Let's not get into that.
Bowling accident.
Yeah. Google it. Well, yeah. Anyway, the
team in Florida doesn't matter. It's fine.
The last team in this division, the Southeast, and I was just going to say, big shout out to South Beach, bring me the heat. We're heading to Miami.
Yeah, I love it.
Bray's favourite team, even though we give him standard for it. The Miami Heat, 1-3 this week, 6-10 overall. A lot of big names and big face coffee missing.
Yeah, Big Face Coffee. He hasn't played since the 9th of January. He's missed 9 games. No Big Face Coffee for the Miami Heat. However, he could be back against the Clips or the Kings this week. So very much looking forward to his return. Hopefully he can stabilize this incredibly erratic offense, which seems to be swinging on whether Bam Adebayo can score 30 or 40 points instead of 20, which is what he's averaging. When Bam scores 40, they score like 110, 120 points. And when Bam scores 20, they score less than 100. And it's literally like that every single game. So yeah, it's completely erratic at the moment. However, like, I don't know if you guys have heard anyone else talk about the Heat. No one is worried about the Heat, and for good reason. Like, this is a team that went deep last year. They are reapproaching the 500 mark. I don't doubt that when their full complement of players is healthy, they'll be back in contention for the top of this division. So I'm not worried. And their next stretch of games is a really good opportunity for them to do it. So they've got the Clips, which is a tough one depending on who's playing, followed by the Kings, Hornets, 2 at the Wizards, 2 at the Knicks, and then the Rockets. And if you can't get back to 500 on those teams, you know, like
then you're worried.
Yeah, exactly. The next time we talk about them, I would hope to see them with at least a 500 record and Big Face coming back in the lineup.
Sure. Yeah, Bray, I just want a good point on that. That's a really easy run of schedule, but if they don't pull it out, they might get ahead of themselves. Like 6-10 is not a good record, and sometimes like playing from behind is not what you want to be doing. Like, and I know that they can't really do anything about it. Like, people have got COVID or they're injured and their best player is out. But I don't know. I just think the uphill struggle, every game's hard in the NBA. There's no easy win. We've seen the Knicks pick up big wins. We've seen the Kings beat big teams. So I just don't know.
But we've talked on this podcast before about the Miami identity, the coming in with the conditioning, this kind of dog mentality. This is a Jimmy Butler team. He is an absolute dog. Like, you think of the players who grind stuff out, and he's one of those. And I think this team are more suited for an uphill struggle than potentially any other. I don't think there's massive egos on this team. I think everyone's willing to come in and work hard to grind out wins. So they do need to start getting these wins now, though. Like, this season is shorter. Like, fair enough. But there is definitely a path for them to be, at the very least in the mix. Because at the moment they're kind of on the outside looking in, and I just don't think that's going to be the case. I would very much hope. I have top 6 aspirations for them if they can get it back on track in this next stretch.
Don't worry, there's always a playing tournament.
I just wish you had that same energy about the Bulls, man. I know they're not your team.
Not there. This Miami team has a lot of talent on it. The Bulls team does not. That's just
And
it.
great. Yeah.
Also, one other fun fact about the Heat: they are one of the teams who are going to get fans back at their home games. 2,000 fans, which will hopefully make a difference at home. And also, they're going to have coronavirus sniffer dogs to be testing things out, which I saw. Didn't know that was even possible. Honestly, skeptical if it's even effective. So, how the coronavirus sniffer dogs do, and if they don't do very well, maybe the entire thing will be out longer.
That's hilarious. The biggest headline is that. That shows how bad their season's going so far. It's just.
I'll also just say the Bulls have got a better record than the Heat.
Stir the pot.
I don't know what you got to say about that.
I genuinely don't think it's going to.
I said that last week too.
That's okay. We can't dog him every week, but some headlines. Bam, career high 41 points, which is great. Kendrick Nunn, also the forgotten man. He had some really big games. You know, he didn't really play much when they went to the finals. He had minutes here and there. You know, they beat the Raptors. He has 28, 8 and 5 and 35 minutes. Nuts. And then in the next game, he has 22, 4 and 5 off the bench. I mean, they lose that game in the Raptors. But yeah, I just want to shout out Kendrick Nunn because he's doing bits when he's coming off the bench.
You remember, like, it was so long ago, but last season he was the starting point guard for the whole year until the shutdown, and then they get back into the bubble. Tyler Hero catches fire, and you've got no choice but to start him. And you know, I don't think Nunn got on very well with the bubble. Some players didn't. Some players really didn't perform there, and he was one of them. But he's still got immense value. The guy can put the ball in the bucket when he wants to. I like him coming off the bench. I think he, you know, Dragic is more suited to a starting role. To be honest, I think Nunn's better as a spark plug. And Hero, you ride him when he's on, and you bench him when he's not.
So that wraps up this division of Southeast. Let's head to the Northwest now. Last week, this man dogged me because I didn't give him the headline spot. Ooh, you know, I didn't give him much of an introduction. And unfortunately, I've had to listen to him because this team is rolling. Tied for first in the West right now. They have, correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, they have 9 wins in a row. They've gone 3-0 this week, 13-4 overall. It is the Utah Jazz.
En fuego. They are en fuego.
That introduction was good. Thank you.
All right. Gosh.
I've just got to back myself, you know.
In the words of Mario Balotelli, the postman doesn't celebrate when he delivers the post. So I lick. Yeah. So actually, funny enough, last time we spoke about the Jazz, so it's been 10 games since then. They've gone 9-1. The one loss being that first game against New York. Then won a 9-game winning streak. But the loss was an internal House Lasky win, so that's fine. So I count that as 10 wins. So during that run, when I was looking at, when I was doing my research for the Magic, when I tried to find my stats, I was also looking at, actually, let me look at a bit of Utah's overall stats for the past year and how they're doing, because they are number 2 in 3-point percentage. I think trying to do a bit more of a deep dive into it. And funny enough, actually, they are making 26% of their wide open threes. So I was using that tool again, and it showed me their wide open threes. Utah are second best at making wide open threes, which I felt really, really good, obviously. So they're getting the opportunity to really knock down shots, and they've got some really nice shooters on the team, especially Spider Mitchell over there. As I was saying, they're currently second in 3-point percentage, and they've just been, as I said, on fire past 10 games. For the winning streak, only one of those games was a single-digit victory. All those other games were double-digit victories and a lot of blowouts, which tells you the sort of dominance that they were at. But yeah.
It's got to be the man who Wildy picked in the Battle Royale. It's got to be Quinn Snyder. He must be, you know, sniping guys before the game.
Just deadline all of them.
So apparently, I was reading something. I was reading an article on the Athletic, and they were saying they were talking to some execs, and they were really surprised at how Quinn Snyder's managed to change the DNA of the team and how they've become so 3-point centric. The only team to take more three shots as a percentage of their offense is Toronto, and it's really good if you take the second percentage most of threes in the league, and you've got the second highest conversion rate. And they're really surprised how Quinn Snyder's managed to change that about the team.
I want to go back to the 3-point. I also found the stat. So Utah got the record for the most threes by a team in the first 15 games at 248.
That right here, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's overlooked. Apart from Spider, who do you think is the most underrated 3-point gun for them?
If I was to pick one player, I would say Mike Conley I think he's got the highest plus minus in the league or something there or thereabouts. And he's been really effective for the Jazz, especially from that point guard position. I think he does. I'm not sure if it's within a certain time period, but I remember reading somewhere a couple of days ago, how Mike Conley's effect that he's managed to have on the team.
Every week we talk about Shaq, and he's going to come up again here, Ed, because he was interviewing Donovan Mitchell after the game. He said, well, what does it take? Have you got what it takes to get to the next level? And Donovan Mitchell just looks at him and goes, I don't care. Very awkward interaction between the two. I don't know. I really like Donovan, and I like what he's been doing this year. I don't think anybody can tell him nothing. The team's playing really well. I know you want to speak more about Donovan.
That I'll be very brief on Donovan. So I'll say the positives and negatives. I'll try and say both sides. When you don't watch Donovan play and you purely look at his stats, you see, okay, cool, he's a pure shooter, and he is shooting lights. I think during this run, I had it jotted down here. During this run, the last nine games, the winning streak, he's shooting 50% from free, which over that sort of time period is amazing. Like over 9 games, shooting 50% from free is really, really impressive. His career high in rebounds is 12, and his career high in assists is 11. And I think that is sort of where people are going to. I think he's only ever had a handful of double doubles in his career. He doesn't necessarily have those stats outside of shooting that he may want. Stats can sometimes be joke, but what's the difference between 9 rebounds and 10 rebounds? Well, one of them counts as the double double, the other doesn't. I think that is what Shaq was trying to say, maybe in terms of the other elements of his game, how else he can help the team apart from shooting. But then saying that, Donovan is still an absolute dog. He can get to the bucket, he can cause havoc, and he can shoot the lights out. So he's looking at it, mate, like, are you even watching my games and seeing what I can do and the effect I have on the team? But then you also look at like the impact he's having maybe in other elements of the game. It might not be as much as you'd want for a star player to have. That's what I'm going to leave out, Donovan. But yeah.
One thing I'd add to that is that like a lot has been made of the relationship between Donovan and Rudy and how they play together. And what we've seen this season is Mike Conley be the main guy who's been enabling Gobert. It's been the Conley-Gobert pick and roll, that the handoffs that they play together insanely well. Like they're together, their plus minus is one of the highest in the league. Just because, like, obviously they're both really good defenders and they've been clicking offensively. And then, you know, you've got Donovan, he can do it on his own.
Conley loves having that big man around him. We know it from his Memphis days. He loves that big man, little man combination. His partnership with Gasol and Zach Randolph being able to feed them the ball and his ability to do different things with a pick and roll. That's when he's in his element. So yeah, and I guess it also helps Rudy Gobert in his offensive production. But there are teams to look out for. I'm not sure I'm not sure about you guys. I'm looking ahead. I've already got number 1 pick secured. I'm looking at how the draft board will go for teams when it gets to the playoffs.
And I'm waving you off. Okay, I'm waving you off. Just like the award ceremony with the Cuban Gooden Jr. and they're cutting him off. I'm cutting you off now. Right. Let's head to more Middle America, and let's head to Oklahoma. Well, Mr. Wildsmith.
What's up?
How's my secondary team doing?
Secondary team doing not too shabby. I mean, well, this week is a little tough. Now the Clippers twice, and they have after losing to my Hawks, they had won 8 games in a row prior to losing to my Hawks. Excuse me.
Uh-huh.
So they had lost to the Clippers twice this week, and a loss to Denver, which have one of the best offenses in the league. So, look, I mean, it's a tough week, but look, they're 7-9. And when they were the team that I was, forced to pick, but was very happy to receive. And if you're getting 7 wins out of like in my view, was meant to be my worst team, Detroit, then it's it's pretty good. I'm very happy with it. But Grant Hill is out at the moment with a sore thumb. Al Horford is out for personal reasons. I couldn't find much more on that. But hopefully,
I think he his daughter was born. I think he had a birth of his kid. I think that's why.
Oh, amazing. Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully there's some Isaiah 2.0 result there where he just goes ballistic after having a kid. Then that would be great. But it doesn't matter too much because Isaiah Roby is their rookie, and he's a really good fill-in for Big Al because he's another big man who can also stretch the floor as well. So with those two interchanging, it's just the exact same offense. Put whichever one you want in there, and you're going to be able to run what you want to run. Oh man, in the spotlight for this team, okay, Lou Dort, prior to the Trailblazer win, he was shooting over 40% from 3. This is the guy that Houston was leaving wide open in the playoffs to say, hey, shoot whatever you want. He's now, after the Trailblazer loss, he's now at 39%. Took a little bit of a dip. But yeah, he's shooting incredible. His defense is amazing. Just to have that much of a jump when there was barely an off season is incredible to me. I love the fact that he's doing that. And for me, obviously, Shea is getting the most points for them. But in terms of two-way play, Lou Dort is my favorite player of theirs. So I like how big he is. He's nice and wide, so he can get to the cup as well. And the better he gets from 3, the easier it's going to be for him to get to the hole, get to the line. Their record in terms of who they got coming up next. They got Suns, Brooklyn, Rockets twice, and Timberwolves twice. So, it's not too sure how it could go. Brooklyn are very inconsistent, it seems, in terms of who they want to beat and who they don't. So that could be a win. Rockets, Wolves seems on the up, and hey, Timberwolves, we should beat them. I hope we beat them. I've already preached about how I didn't have a better team than Timberwolves.
They got proven.
Well, yeah, exactly. So defense-wise, very much like my Hawks last season. They're 25th in defensive efficiency, which is not very good. But if they are going up against a team that have an outstanding scorer, it's nice to have someone like a Lou Dort to put on that player to slow them down as best they can. That's where we're at with them.
Waddy, can I ask you about some of their starters? So you've got Darius Baisley and Isaiah Roby picked out. They both play the forward positions. So in the first Clippers game, they both had 8 points and 4 rebounds. And then in the next game, Roby had 10 points, 10 rebounds, and Baisley had 9 points and 11 rebounds. Very similar stat lines. I just want to know, who do you like more, or like watching, or who you think's a better fit for them, like in terms of starting lineup? Let's say Horford comes back and maybe shifts one of them out.
Well, there was an article about how OKC had really great long-term confidence in Roby being able to guard centers such as like Jokic and stuff like that, which nobody can really guard Jokic. So that's a bold statement in my mind. For me, Baisley I prefer watching him. I think he's a lot more explosive. I think he's got a quick first step. And for me, I think that he's a little bit more of a presence. When I'm watching the game, he doesn't disappear from view in terms of what I'm paying attention to. I do like Roby a lot, and hey, look, he's a rookie, so if he's getting similar stats, then hey, that's his first year. So let's see where it can build from there. But at the moment, Baisley is definitely somebody that I'm more favoured towards.
Let's do something new on this pod, because we're always striving for innovation. So OKC's final game this week was against our very own House of 03, Jord, where it was a very close game. So I'm going to sort of transition into the Thunder Blazers matchup, and I want you guys both to talk about like what you saw. Obviously, Thunder pulled it out with the win. Yeah, any thoughts from that game?
Yes, they did. I just want to kick it off with the fact that Mike Muscala, former Hawk, was absolutely on fire from 3, man. You can't stop Muskie. he went 6 for 10 from 3. But it was at one point in the game, he hit 3 in a row. I think at one point he's 4 for 6. So he was really putting it on you. Couldn't find an answer for the Moose.
Yeah, I'll give you that respect. You know what I find funny about the game as well? Sorry if I'm doing a bit of a spoiler. The fact that Lillard released that shoe, kind of trolling OKC for that win, and then we go out and lose to the youngest squad on the court. Yeah, so it's kind of like timing on that, but. I'll give you that. I'll give props where it's due for that. Like you said, tough game. I was expecting more from it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it was really cool because I mean, OKC, it wasn't like they were, when you're watching the game, you didn't feel like they were underdogs throughout the whole thing and they had to rally at the end to do it. It was actually all the way around. Blazers were down.
Yeah.
And Lillard hit some amazing shots
Honestly,
as we can to get him in close to try and pull it out in respect to his own shoe, but couldn't quite do it, as we said. So it was a shame. But yeah, I think that the game was real good.
Can't forget about that Gary Trent Jr. flop as well. One of the highlights.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
it was like his brain was working and he was like, he felt like a breeze on his back and was like, oh. Yeah, like, let me fall down real quick.
Oh, gosh.
There's so much expected of me. Sometimes it's easier for me to just fall down. Blake Griffin
and his canter as well. 22 rebounds.
Nuts.
Oh, man,
Love to see it.
Yeah, he had 7 offensive rebounds. But George, you have your own spotlight now. So the Blazers, they had 2 postponed games against the Grizz. So they missed out there. They went 1-1 this week, 9-7 overall. Win against the Knicks, and then we also spoke about the Thunder. What do you want to talk about with your own team?
So the biggest concern which I usually have with my team is when it comes around, it seems like each season period, the run of injuries which seem to begin to plague us. So obviously now McCollum's out for a bit, so he's expected back in March. Enes Kanter is also out, and then we've got a few injuries on day to day.
You mean Nurkic?
Oh yeah. Why am I saying Kanter? Yeah, Nurkic, sorry. Nurkic is out. Sorry. And then we got those injuries day to day. And then, my main concern with this is what I mentioned before in previous podcasts, where I'm usually concerned with our play style, where it heavily relies on Lillard and McCollum. Now, with that being said, Lillard has been playing amazingly well. Like, he's one of the most clutch players that are out there in the NBA. I think in total, I think he's like top 5 for points scored, which is insane. And so, yeah, he really does lead this team well. Now, my concern arrives is now that McCollum's out, whether that pressure is just all going to fall on Lillard again, and then he's got to pick it up again, where it gets to the point where in our NBA season, it becomes more of an endurance game with how long can he keep it up.
Yeah, George, that's a really good point. He's out for 4 weeks with a small fracture in his left foot. Yeah. So my question to you, out of Simons, Gary Trent, Rodney Hood, Melo, who do you want starting in place of him? Who do you trust the most?
Ooh.
Oh, and also, would you drop out Covington and Derek Jones Jr. in the starting lineup?
So in terms of, I'll answer the second question first. I would look to drop out Covington. I'll keep Derek Jones Jr. and I'll drop out Covington. I'll probably, even though I do like Melo coming off the bench, I really do like that. I might swap in Melo for a bit and give Covington that break, seeing as he's got that injury, to just ease that concern a little bit there. In terms of the first question, who I would look to start, I'm happy with Gary Trent. However, I have to give respects to a Fernie Simmons on that. Like, I feel like he's been playing really well and he's been stepping up, and I definitely do see him. Well, I hope he gets more responsibility in that, because the brother can play and he can play well, and his heart is definitely in this team. So I would love to see more performances from him.
Nice, man. That's great. Well, with Enes Kanter as well, he's got big shoes to fill, and he's got big shoes to fill defensively, because we know he's a double-double machine, and we know what he does on the offensive side of the ball. Didn't know if you knew this stat, George, but Lillard broke the record for consecutive free throws made in the franchise. He made 67 in a row, which is quite cool. Derek Jones Jr. actually put in like 14 points in the Knicks game, where Emmanuel quickly just completely went off in that game. But yeah, they're getting out rebounded. I just think, they're undermanned at the moment, and they're a team with depth. They've got a lot of pieces there. They need to rely more on those pieces.
Yeah, definitely. And it gets to that point where we don't rely on them at the beginning, and then we get to those injury positions where a lot of our players start to pick up injuries, and then we're like, well, who can we look to? Let's just look to the players which we've been looking to at the start and continue along that route, which is where my concerns rely. But again, shout out to Lillard, like in his true shooting stat, which incorporates all areas of where you're scoring points from. He's got 86% in true shooting. 86%, followed by Harden 77 and Colin Sexton 78 in second. So yeah, the brothers putting in work. Lillard being Lillard.
They dollar.
Shout out Colin Sexton. Yeah.
He's not getting the credit, and the Cavs have lost a lot of games without him there. So
he's a beast. Like, I have to shout out that defensive block on KD. Like, you see him coming in so quick. Did you see the delay on KD's face? He didn't even realize the ball had gone.
George, do you know what's so funny about that clip?
What?
So I was trying to figure out what the hell happened after it. They called him for a travel.
Are you serious?
So he made that play, and then they were like, no, you travelled like just after. He must have been too excited. Too funny, man. Way too funny.
Mate, it's just the delay on KD's turn. Like, he's still looking at the ball for like a couple of seconds, and it's like, oh, wait.
Let's move on to the second team that has gone undefeated this week. We haven't had this. Two teams in the same division go undefeated. Let's head to the Rockies in Denver. Lancashire Lambert, the door is shut. There's no losses coming through. Talk to me about the Denver Nuggets.
It's every time you come to me, I'm always having at least one undefeated team. So I'm very happy with the way that everything's going in my house right now. The Nuggets, what can we say? Started off the season a bit slow, but on a 4-game win streak at the moment, currently 10-7 overall. And we like it exciting in Denver. 2 games against the Suns. First one went to overtime. Second one went to double overtime. And then a nice little 4-point win versus the Mavs. So, yeah, it's nice and exciting, getting the wins on the board. Jokic is unbelievable, as always. Jamal Murray's excellent. Michael Porter Jr. is fantastic. It's very exciting in Denver right now.
Might I add 3 quality wins as well. The Mavericks are going to be in the running for the playoffs, and the Suns, we've talked about how well they've been doing. You said that they were both overtime games against the Suns, which is great because it shows that they're, playing well under pressure. What did you see down the stretch? Like, was it all Jokic, or did they go to Murray down the stretch? What were they running in terms of who did they put
Yeah, well, in terms of especially the game that went to double overtime, Murray made a great 3-point shot at the buzzer to send it to overtime, and then Jay Crowder did pretty much the same thing in the first period of overtime to send it to double OT. But then it seemed that there was a bit of to and fro, and then they kind of went to Jokic to seal the deal towards the end, and that was when they started to pull away, especially in that second game. But it's good to see Murray making those clutch shots down the stretch of the game as well. And have to shout out Michael Porter Jr. in the game against the Mavs. He got 30 points in 27 minutes off the bench. And some good, a little bit of a analysis that I read about him was that he's quite a bit of a triple threat this season. So half of his field goals are from 3-point, 30% are from the rim, and 20% are from mid-range. And he's having a great season. He's currently averaging 18 points per game, and he's got 47% from the 3-point line, which is 9th in the league.
Jamal Murray hitting clutch shots, but did you guys see him take a different kind of shot on Tim Hardaway Jr. In the game? The type of cheap shot. Anybody see that?
Yes.
Ric Flair low blow.
Yeah, low blow indeed.
Go.
Yeah. But again, showing that because he got ejected from that, obviously in the third quarter, and yet they still managed to win that game against Luke. I think Luke had a ridiculous triple-double in that game, as he always does. Yeah. So even without Jamal Murray, that shows that they can still pull away. And I think Jokic is obviously a big piece of that. He's got near enough averaging a triple-double this season. He's insane. He's had a double-double in every game. And no other player's done that. And he's only second to Luka in terms of triple-doubles. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, the Nuggets are a great side, and even with the games coming up next, they've got the Heat, Spurs, Jazz, and then the Pistons. It feels like they can build on this run of form that they're on at the moment.
I also want to give another shout out to the Denver depth. Their bench is, whenever I see it, there's somebody at least in double figures off their bench, whether it's JaMychal Green, Monte Morris. They've sometimes Will Barton plays in the starting lineup. He hasn't played the best, but it always feels like there's somebody that can step up. And especially with the whole Jokic thing and him shouldering a lot of burden, it seems like they're finally figuring out how he can get some help, and Murray's finally turning up. Before he got ejected, Murray had a good game. I think he had 16 points. Before he had ejected. So we just want to see more out of Jamal, and continue to take the next step.
I think that's an important point you raise as well in terms of the players off the bench making a contribution, because at the moment I think Jokic and Murray are both in the top 20 in the league for minutes played. So as the season goes on, that's going to need to come down, especially just to give some rest time before the playoffs. So it's important that those players off the bench are going to be able to fill in when you're starting to need to ease those minutes for Jokic and Murray going forward, because they're going to need to slow down those minutes a couple of times, aren't they?
We're going to move from the door being firmly shut to a door which is so wide open, everything's coming through. Matthew Bray, let's end this division discussion with the Minnesota Timberwolves, man. I feel for you. It's nothing you can really do about it, man. You didn't choose this team. Talk to me about the Timberwolves.
This section could just be the Timberwolves suck. Moving on, it's bad. It's really bad.
Just say the Hawks are great. Don't say your team sucks.
You did get a win. You did get a win this week.
They got a win. They beat
the
Pelicans without Towns or Russell.
They should have got two.
So question to the other GMs: are the Wolves, the Pistons, or the Wizards the worst team in the league? Which one of those three does everyone think is the worst?
Pistons.
I was going to say Pistons.
Pistons?
Yeah, it is. Definitely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they're the second worst team in the league then, which is the only plus that we can see. So, I mean, look, it's a sad picture, but I did look into it. Cat has played 4 games this season. So there's problem number one. Don't have your best player by far. It's a team with not much talent on it past Cat. And he hasn't even been playing. So you can't really do much of that in the first place. The second thing is that Ryan Saunders has been the coach for a couple of years now. And at the start of the season, he brought in 2 guys, kind of like the NFL. He's almost got like an offensive and a defensive coordinator. The defensive coordinator is a guy called David Vanderpool, who came over from Portland, very well regarded around the league. He's just not working with much because they're terrible defensively. Guess who they brought in as their offensive coordinator. Fun fact, he's the oldest rookie in league history.
Pablo Prigioni.
Pablo Prigioni.
Yeah. Pablo Prigioni is, I found out, the offensive coordinator.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
For the Timberwolves.
What a gem. What an absolute no.
Man like Pablo.
I know. And
That's great.
Drafted by the Knicks.
Yeah. I think going into the season, they were thinking we're going to be a bottom 10 offense, defense, no matter what. They just haven't got the personnel for it. They've got all the guys too young. They've got no big presences inside. They're just going to be a bottom 10 defense. That's just it. And the offense, they were hoping to rely on it, and hasn't been there. Like, Pablo's not been able to work his magic. To be fair, they haven't been at this very long. Like Ryan Saunders coach, he's in his second season technically, but he only became the head coach when they fired Thibodeau. Can't really put too much judgment on him, but it's just not been great. They set up like a half court offense team who doesn't play very quickly, but they can't score in the half court, and they don't take enough threes. They don't make enough threes. Their main offensive centerpiece at the moment is D'Lo, and they're just not maximizing him in the same way that he was in Brooklyn. Like that, when he was in Brooklyn and when Brooklyn traded him, they traded high on him because he was playing so well in their system. Avery Bradley just had it going for him, and they need to watch some of that tape back and see exactly how D'Lo was
Avery Bradley.
Was it not
Avery Bradley?
Not Avery Bradley. Avery Johnson. Avery Johnson. Jesus, nice one.
Channing Tatum.
Yeah, they need to. They need to really get back and try and do that. And the only other, like, because I don't think any of this is going to happen. They're going to continue to be bad this whole season. The interesting wrinkle for them though is that if their pick is outside the top 3, it goes to the Warriors in next year's draft. And if they are a bottom 5 team, I believe, they only get a 40% chance of getting it. So even if they're slightly better, it's still only a 40% chance of retaining their pick. It's just such a precarious situation. They obviously made the trades thinking they'd be better. But if I'm the Warriors, I'm like,
you're laughing.
Like at my odds, 60. Basically, you're getting at least a 60% chance of getting a pick that's in the top, 10 or top 8, I think.
What was the trade for that? What was the trade?
It was in
Wiggins.
The D'Lo trade.
Oh fuck yeah, Wiggins. Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, sorry, the Wiggins trade. Yeah, the Wiggins.
Wiggins actually playing decent as well now.
Yeah.
Well, that's because he's in a better team. We've already covered this. I think it was last week. I ain't going on that island unless anyone else is on it. And also, like, double nut kick is that they could have picked Wiseman and they picked Edwards.
This is the other thing, because don't get me wrong, Edwards has been fine. He's been fine, but
has he? I don't think he has.
Not.
No. I'll tell you, Bray, because they've given this man the green light. In the Magic game, he shot 3 of 14, and then last night he.
What else do you want to do with him? You haven't got Karl Anthony Towns. There's no one else to take any shot. You might as well let him take the shot. Get all the bad stuff out of the way.
He's not making first all rookie team. He's not the first pick. He shouldn't have been the first pick.
I agree. He definitely should have been the first pick. Like, okay, so Anthony Davis doesn't play center unless they go to their super depth lineup when they're really trying to beat people. He doesn't normally. They need to do the same thing with Karl Anthony Towns. They need to have a centre there. Someone like that would have been a much better option to have Wiseman there, Cat playing the 4, and then because Cat's a great 3-point shooter as well.
Yeah.
But they missed it. They missed the trick. I don't really know what they did with this. They've obviously struggled drafting players, as we've seen. I mean, I guess not with Cat. It's just drafting around him. You get that 1 star. And the Pelicans are kind of going through this as well, where you get the one piece, and now it's your job to put stuff around him, and they just haven't managed to do it yet. We'll see if when Cat gets back, if they can actually look like a basketball team. But at the moment, they're just don't.
Quick question, Bray. Just tell me what you think. 27th rank defense for the Timberwolves compared to 15.1 turnovers per game. What could be an easier fix for them to improve on?
The turnovers in the offense is the easiest thing to fix, because they've got guys who can score. Like D'Lo can be more efficient than he's being. When Cat comes back, he will be more efficient. They can make strides on the offensive end. Defense, we always knew it was going to be a problem. So let's not focus on that and just get the offense. To be like, if they can have the 15th best offense in the league, like it would be so much better.
Yeah. So that wraps up division discussions. Let's head to the leaderboard. Here we go. Right. In last place, and still in last place, even though it is marginal, Mr. Salt Bray. Your best team is the Boston Celtics, 10-6, and worst team, we just spoke about them, Timberwolves. You have a record of 43 and 54. Just above you is Lancashire Lambert, 44 and 50. Just kudos to you. You've played the least amount of games and you have covered some serious ground, Matt. So I will give you some props for that. Your best team.
Handed me 3 L's this week, motherfucker.
I told you.
I'm on my way behind you.
Dallas and Suns, man. Fuck. Come on.
You should be scared, Wildy.
You seen his glasses?
Oh, the glasses.
I'm serious.
Man means business.
Yeah.
At the beginning of this week, I had a full head of hair. This is what you're doing to me.
So 44 and 50 for Lancashire Lambert. Best team is the Nuggets, who are playing much better. Your worst team is the Washington Wizards. Only played 13 games though. In third place, staying in third place, is One Bar Wildy, Para-Antic Express. You are 48 and 52. Your best team is Philly. We did lose to Detroit Pistons. And
my one Detroit Pistons win, helped. They gave me a loss on one of my teams.
It was, it was Doc. He was like, "We'll give you a win because Wild needs it." So, second place, we've got House of 03 at 53 and 49. Jord, your best team is Los Angeles Lakers, the hot sister, as we spoke about. And your worst team is the Pels, 5 and 10.
Not the Bulls.
Yeah.
They're better than the Pels. That's fine. They can be better than the Pels.
They're better than Miami right now.
And top of the leaderboard. Hopefully he will become humble soon. I don't think he will. I think he stretched his lead at 61 and 45. His best team is the Utah Jazz, and his worst team is the New York Knicks at 8 and 11, which is not a bad record overall. So a lot of changes, even though positions haven't changed. Still plenty of games to play, as we're not at the 25% mark yet.
Oof.
There's a lot of missed games that I don't think a lot. What do you guys think? Do you think those games that have been postponed will end up being played? I think there's quite a few teams that got like 6 games missed or something like that. Do you reckon they could squeeze them in? I'm not too confident.
They will do everything they can, because the amount of money they lose, even if they play like a fraction of the games, is mental.
The reason it's 72 is because, and they did this last year, is because I think there is like the TV deals tied to like 70 or 72 games. They have to play. Every team has to play that number, otherwise they lose money. I think it might be a case of pushing, like, I don't know, pushing playoffs back even.
But I think they have a hard cut-off this year with the Olympics coming up. That I think was another spanner, because there's the Olympics this year, and I think quite a few players obviously want to go to the Olympics, and obviously they want USA to go as well. So I think that's another thing to consider.
Yeah, they definitely don't.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely don't want to drop out early like they did in the last tournament. So yeah. So that wraps up divisions discussions and the leaderboard. We're going to take a short break and we are going to head to our segments.